All right, good morning. Welcome to Monday, October 17th. Good to see you today. Today is Brooke's birthday, and hopefully soon she'll be back on our way from Arizona. Today's reading we Mark chapter 7 through 9. As I've mentioned a couple times through here, Mark isn't heavy in doctrine. It tells us just more of what happened, and we're going to cover some of that. I'll again try to pick out maybe a couple things from each chapter and just talk about those. Let's hit it running. Alright, a bit of explanation there. Chapter 7 verse 11 says this. But ye say, if a man shall say to his father or mother, it is Corban, that is to say, is a gift, by whatsoever thou mayest be profited by me, he shall be free. And so what they were doing in Jesus' illustration of how these people were, skirting God's laws for their own benefit, the traditions of men, is what they would do is they would, in order to get out of taking care of their elderly parents, they would hide their funds. Now, if they were to put it in a bank or something like that, apparently legally it could still be touched for that. But what they would do is they would work out something with the temple, sign it over to the priest as a gift, and therefore, since it's there, it would not be able to be used. It's talking about what comes from within a man. Dr. Larry Smith said something in class one time in college. He said, that which is in the well is what comes up in the bucket. And again, Jesus is up towards the northern area. He's already been to Decapolis and then went back down to hometown, and now he's going back a little north again. Now in 7 and 8, we find a story twice where he spits on somebody. Well, it's funny. I've brought this up a couple times in church, and probably all the people watching this video probably even heard me say it, of how do you think Jesus did that? Do you think he actually, worked something up, or do you think it was just simple, something soft? But I've often wondered about, in the healing of the blind man, when he spat and touched him, and he was able to see men as trees. And so I've been told there are 3 different stages that Jesus is trying to teach here, and that is blindness, partial sight, blindness before salvation, partial sight at salvation, and then perfect vision, which this man gets, but we don't get that until we actually see Jesus. And then down towards the end of the chapter again, Peter pulls Jesus aside and rebukes him. I appreciate Peter. He just said whatever's on his mind and defended Jesus the best of his ability. And in chapter 9 again we have the Transfiguration. Chapter 9 of Mark makes it more clear because remember, Matthew was separated. Some standing here shall see the kingdom, and then the next chapter is the Transfiguration. Here it's verse 1, and then it says immediately, okay, now let's talk about the Transfiguration. So then the young demon-possessed child is healed, but the disciples couldn't do it. Jesus did it, and then he says, hey, listen, this can only be done by prayer and fasting. I'm not sure how often, maybe times just come up, but maybe there's some times occasionally where we choose to fast. I think Jesus said here that there's certain things that don't happen until we do. And I remember in Indiana when I was going to Bible college, I had a huge concern, about my mom's salvation. I'm not sure if she was saved younger. I'm not sure, if it was at church, but she certainly was saved. But I remember fasting for it. I have a traditional day each year that I do this. And of course, you look at me and you probably think I should probably do it more. And I remember in Matthew, we talked about how the disciples were being sent out, and it was a kingdom teaching. Now here in Mark chapter 9, it's a little bit different. Mark chapter 9 is less about the kingdom and more about the action. So when you see these things down here in the end of Mark chapter 9, the blessings to those that would help the disciples, then those can be applied to our lives a little bit more easily. Again, I think I mentioned this in Matthew. Messing with kids is the one thing that Jesus actually raised the bar on. Before it was, merely death, whatever, somebody caught adultery, murderers, all sorts of stuff. But here, hey, if you mess with kids, it'd be better that your, millstone hang about your neck, you're thrown into the sea. And so in context, when it talks about the hand and the eye, I believe it's talking there then about sexual sins and going as far as it takes to maybe stop addictions and things of that nature. Side note, verses 44 and 46 are deleted out of the NIV. I haven't even been keeping track and talking about that with you. I'd probably bore you with it, so I won't say much about it. All right. Hope this is helpful to you today. Have a great day. We'll catch you tomorrow.